Hey everybody, it's Big E. Welcome to Big E's YouTube channel. Today we'll be working on the shithawk. If you're following the channel at all, you will see how we actually built the fuel pressure regulator. The Holly unit with the fittings and everything. And then we did a video on fabricating a custom bracket that we're going to use to mount the regulator on the motor. Right on where the water pump's going to be is where I decided to put it. Again, I mentioned before to make sure that you pick a place where there's no heat, there's no spark, and your fuel lines will be away from anything that spins, rubs, or could possibly chafe your fuel lines. Either one of those things have the potential for an explosion or a fire, so keep that in mind when you're looking for a location to put a fuel pressure regulator on your particular application, because everyone's different. So with this regulator, what we want to do is we actually want to cut fuel pressure back. Okay, so usually, like this car, when it was built, it was made for fuel injection. And fuel injection, the fuel system has an operating pressures of 45 psi as high as 65 psi to run fuel injectors. And comparison to this car was swapped to carburetor. Carburetors work on a PSI between 5 to 9, 4.5 to 9, somewhere in there. So you can see there's a big difference. So what I'm looking to do with this regulator is, instead of increasing fuel pressure, I want to see what I have and if I can possibly reduce it, so that way it's not firing so much fuel into the carburetor when I try and cold start that it doesn't shoot fireballs when I'm doing that. So this is the first step. We have another thing. We have a smaller carburetor we're going to put on. But that's going to be in the future. Right now we're going to work on getting the regulator on today, so we're going to try and take you step by step. If you missed my first two videos, please check those out. I believe one is fuel regulator for shithawk, and one is fabricating fuel regulator bracket, I think. Check those out to kind of bring you up to speed to where we are now. This is kind of like a part 3, if you will, so just follow me with that. So anyway, let me adjust the camera here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started on what we have going on here. So as you can see, this is where I'm going to be mounting it. The hole on top of the water pump. Here's my fuel inlet. So this is what's going to be going to the actual regulator. So what we're going to do is, I have the finished regulator with the fabricated bracket and painted. Okay, so we're going to mount that here. Okay, so we're going to set this up like so. Now, I didn't count on the fact that I might have an issue with the radiator hose, but we'll see what happens when we start running hose, if we need to maybe redirect some stuff here. We'll go from there. So I'm running this bolt in. For right now, I think I'm only going to make it hand tight. So then what we can do is, if we need to move, we can. Now, here's our inlet fuel. And that I don't like, because look how it's pinched there. That's going to be a problem. So I wasn't anticipating that. So what we're going to do is, we're going to have to somehow see if there's a way I can either cut the fuel line, the metal part here, cut this bend here needs to be cut out. I don't know if, let me see if I can adjust the camera if you can see that. Probably not, but there's a bend where it's coming in. There's a bend. Something like that. So what we need to do is cut that bend off, so it's just a straight piece coming up, and then reclamp onto there. And then what we can do is, we should be able to run this fuel line up, and then run our supply to the fuel rail itself. So I've got to go ahead. I've got to go do that. So while I do that, and I'll come right back. Hey, it's Big Yam Bag. I got the fuel line cut off. What I ended up finding was a tool I thought I lost, but I actually refound it. When you're going to cut a fuel line, obviously you're not going to go in there with a die grinder or anything like that, make sparks, because obviously you're cutting a line that has fuel in it, and you have the fuel and the explosion issue. So I found it's a tubing cutter. You can get these at the hardware store, Harbor Freight, someplace like that, for probably about under 20 bucks. What you want to do, obviously, is adjust this and get it tight around your pipe, and then you want to turn it until it starts getting easy. Then crank down until this gets tight. Crank maybe 2 rounds, 3 rounds, it gets easy. Crank it again, go 2, and you keep doing that and repeating it until you cut through the tube and it gets a nice cut. So now that we have a nice cut on, what I need to do now is I removed the, thanks bud. What I did was I removed the regulator for the fact that it would be easier to access it. So it's kind of, this is going to be kind of redundant. What we're going to do is I'm going to take the the fuel line, which of course I can't find. So it fell here somewhere. You know, as usual, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So I'm gonna go ahead and look for that, and I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. I got new fuel line instead of reusing that. So I have a clamp on here. Okay, so let me readjust the camera here. Probably, let's see if I can do a little better. So here I'm at. Okay, so we're gonna put the fuel line and of course drop the camera. Let me reposition here. So we're gonna get this fuel hose on for now. We'll push that on, make sure we get a good amount on there, so that way we can get our clamp on there and get good grip. So of course, you know, if I wouldn't be videoing this, it probably would go smoothly, but because of the fact that I'm videoing this, everything is giving me the business. So alright, so we got it in place. We got our screwdriver. So for now we're just gonna tighten it up like that. So and we're going to tighten it up more when we do final assembly. Okay, so now we're back to doing our regulator here. So let's put that back in place like we had it before. So alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out about how much hose we need. So we're cut it a little on the big side, obviously. Don't forget our clamp for that. Slide that over, and we're going to put that up into place. Now remember, we wanted to see, I was taking a guess if this would be tall enough that we wouldn't kick any hoses. So looks like we might be okay here. So let's position this on here, and we're going to just gently tighten that. Alright. Hey bud. Yes, got my son helping me today. So we're gonna tighten this up. Alright. So that's what it is. For some reason they had something on there that wasn't engaging. That's engaging, so okay, see, right now we're just gonna rough everything. For some reason now that's being a thing. Okay, well, so now what we're going to do, we're going to work at this here part of the out part of the regulator. So we'll see what we're up against here. So let's get a clamp on there. And we'll push that on the regulator. Okay, so then we'll make sure we tighten that up. Now we might have to make a rough cut here and do a final cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look here. I'm going to think it's probably going to be about like that to rough cut it. So take our excess hose, we can lay that aside. Probably need that for a future project. We'll take our clamp. We're going to first try it going down this way. And you know what, that might actually work. Going underneath, that looks not too bad. So what we'll do is now we'll do a final cut on that. So we'll put that in here. Get our clamp. And we'll push that onto our inlet. And we're going to do a rough, we're going to tighten this to maybe not all the way till we get everything figured out, exact lengths and stuff. But right now, at least it's close. And there's some other things that we need to figure out. But as to why it is my bolt worked and now it doesn't, so I have to find another bolt. Anyway, guys, that's the basic fuel regulator installation on it. What I'm going to do, like I said, I have to rebuild a 600 CFM carburetor yet that I'm going to put on, see how that works, and then we can put another fuel pressure gauge on to see what pressure we're running, and then we'll do all the final tuning and adjustments then. So anyway, that's it for today. Hopefully you learned something, and if you're working on a fuel system on your hot rod or your car or whatever, hopefully this sheds some light. And it's really not that hard to do. Sometimes you run into surprises like we did with the fuel line where we had to cut the bend off to make sure it ran right. Sometimes that stuff happens, but the whole thing is being able to adjust and adjust to the situation, fix it right, have it that it makes sense, have that everything looks like it flows right, and keeping everything clean. So anyway, like and subscribe to my channel, and you can also check me out at Eric Snyder 802 at gmail.com. Let me know. If not, drop something in the comments. Let me know what you think. Like I said, hopefully soon here we'll get some videos up of the Shithawk in live action. So everybody take care, watch out for each other, and we will see you next time on Big E's.